Hey everyone, welcome back to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This is a show all about farmers markets. Whether you're a farmers market manager, a farmer, or a food producer selling at farmers markets, or just a curious farmers market shopper, this is the podcast for you. On today's episode, we are discussing the importance of booth behavior and appearance. How can you increase your sales with simple changes to your booth display, how you and your team operate in your booth, and what to do and not to do to maximize your day at the market. I am Brijet Myers, one of your hosts. I am a current farmers market manager, and I've done it all from pulling permits to telling vendors what to do to act better in their booth.
Vendors and market staffs.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
I'm Catt Fields-White. I'm the founder of San Diego Markets and of Inten's farmers market business. And we're going to talk just a little bit today about not so much Inten's display of product, but your booth itself, your basic, how your booth is set up, what it looks like, how you act in your booth, and how you reach out to customers that come by.
So important.
It is so important. It comes up when like a vendor contacts us and says, my sales aren't as good as they should have been. Do you have any tips? Do you have any ideas what's going on? Or even worse, you get an email, or the worst of all, you get a review from somebody that says, I was at this farmer's market, I went to the info booth, and I couldn't get anybody to talk to me. Or something else about the info booth. That's awful as a farmer's market manager.
Yeah. They were chatting or ignoring me, or I couldn't get any information. Or from vendors, too. They weren't in their booth to sell to me.
Yeah.
They were talking to their neighbor, those things.
Yeah. So just really simple things you can do about how your booth is basically set up, how you act within the booth to make sure that you're really there making sales, because it's a lot of fun to be in the market, but if you're not going to make sales, you may as well be at the beach, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Or just shopping the market.
Yeah.
If you're not there to sell stuff, just hang out at the market as a shopper.
Yeah. So, basically what you're doing is the same things you do in your home, kind of, to make sure that your customers feel welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have a welcoming area, make sure it's inviting, that they don't feel like they're intruding on your space.
Yeah, that's kind of a big deal, I think, and that's one of the most basic things. A vendor that asked me recently, he's not at this particular market, he's at another market, and he's got a staff that's at the market he's talking about, and he was asking why his sales weren't as good as he expected they would be. The market's busy. I was watching his team the other day. He has a small 10 by 10 booth. He doesn't have a huge display, and he's got at least 2 people, sometimes 3 people in there, and they're very happy and involved with each other, it appears, and they spend a lot of time talking to each other, talking about what they did the night before, talking about things going on in their lives. So when you approach that booth as a customer, you sort of feel like, 1, you're eavesdropping on their life, and 2, you're interrupting their party or their conversation. And so I think a lot of people glance at that, they don't even bother to get close to the booth. So even though the staff might, if they see somebody walk up, cut it down, and sadly sometimes that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But even if you think that, I can bring that conversation down if somebody else comes up to talk to me, a lot of times people won't even approach because clearly you're involved in your conversation with your coworker and they don't want to intrude on you.
Absolutely. Even as a farmers market manager, when I go to other markets, I feel very uncomfortable if people are discussing things with each other or they look like they're having a good time. I just feel I don't want to interrupt their good time for them to have to sell to me. It's a very awkward feeling.
Sure.
And that's not why you're there at the farmers market as a business.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it happens in all kinds of businesses. It's not just farmers markets.
Absolutely.
I remember being annoyed by that at grocery stores where the 2 cashiers were so involved in a talk about job disputes or what have you that you didn't want to interrupt them to get your transaction taken care of. But at the farmers market, it's especially important since farmers markets are there because people want to talk to the people that make their food.
Yep.
The relationship is such a big part of your sales at the farmers market that you have to have that relationship between the person in your booth and the person on the street that wants to buy things from you.
Yeah, even if it's just a salesperson and not the actual owner of the business, they need to have a positive attitude. They need to be there to make those connections with customers no matter what, and just be happy to be there and not be complaining.
Right.
Also, what happens is people say, oh, hey, I'm going to take a look at your product. How's your day going? And I'll hear staff in some booths or the owner themselves say, oh, it's such a slow day at the market, or, oh, I'm so tired, or I'm hungover, or things that they really is kind of inappropriate to discuss with shoppers
with a customer,
and also just gives that customer not a great feeling about their kind of in their way, or they're intruding on this person who's having a crabby day.
Right.
So, it just makes for like not such a great interaction with those customers, and that bleeds over into the rest of the market.
Right.
So then if you're the first booth that customer comes to, and that customer is really turned off by your attitude, or you're tired, or you're saying, oh, this market is so slow today, even though maybe it is or maybe it isn't, doesn't matter, you're just having a negative attitude in general, that customer may say, oh, maybe this market's not such a great place. I'm going to go back to my car and go to the grocery store where I can just pick stuff up off the shelf.
Just anonymously and not have to interact with somebody that's having a bad day.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really important. I mean, I actually was at a really big market back east recently, and I know the market, and I know it's well run, and I love it, but I went to the info booth because I wanted to ask a particular question. They had a kind of a new kind of vendor there that I hadn't seen before, and I wanted to ask how they dealt with the regulations on that and such. And they had 3 people in the booth. It was a decent-sized market, talking to one another very heatedly. And obviously one of them was really excited about something and sort of not in a good way.
Yeah.
They never made eye contact, never looked over. I stood there for a few minutes, and then, at some point I just got frustrated and thought, I'll go talk to the vendor and figure this out myself. But it wasn't a good feeling.
And that's a missed connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know we talked to Charlotte Smith a lot, and she was on our podcast early in our podcasting days, talking about how she went to a market and nobody reached out and said, oh, hey, I like your sweater, or hey, how are you today? Things like that. Those kind of connections are really important, and it translates into money in your pocket. It really does.
Absolutely.
That's how you make sales. We're here, our passion meets profit. So you're here to run a business and to make sales. That is what you need to do, end goal. And so you need to make those positive connections. On the flip side, I've been to farmers markets where I went to a market in Arizona. The info booth was incredible, fully staffed. They all looked very professional. They reached out. They said, hey, how are you today? They weren't trying to sell me anything right away. Just, hey, welcome to the market. As I walked in, I came up to a jewelry booth, was kind of looking at her things. She had a little Arizona theme. I have a cactus tattoo on my shoulder. And she said, oh, hey, cactus tattoo. That's so great. Like, are you from Arizona? Are you visiting? And we got in this whole conversation about that. I ended up buying a bunch of, like, Arizona paraphernalia from her, like stickers from my kids and cactus earrings from her. And it was really, maybe I would have bought something anyways, but that connection and the fact that she was so positive and seemed so happy to be there just really made a difference and an impact, and it translated into me handing her my credit card. So really,
Exactly.
You have to think about that when you're running your booth.
You can always find something positive to say to somebody.
Anything.
Yeah, like you said, cute sweater, or hey, that's a fun hat. Where'd you get that? Or funny T-shirt, or if they're carrying something from another booth, oh wow, aren't the strawberries great right now? Or what really impresses people is if you suggest to them that they buy something that you're not selling.
Absolutely.
Have you tasted the tomatoes this week? Holy cow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We like it, and we talk about that in other podcasts. And really, when we do our vendor classes, say, coordinate with your other vendors. Because I hear our salt vendor all the time. She's not even trying to sell her salt, but she'll say, kind of work it into the conversation. Oh, yeah, I just put this salt on these amazing tomatoes from the farmer that's right behind me. They're so great. They're from Riverside. This market vendor has been here since the beginning of the market. They're not even talking about their own business.
Right.
They're talking about someone else's business, and then their customer says, oh, yeah, I'm going to get that salt and go over to this other booth and get tomatoes.
Yeah.
So, what a great positive way to bring that customer in and make that customer feel like they're a part of the market and a part of your family at the market.
Exactly. Dealing with customers is not so different from dealing with somebody you're meeting at a party or in an office networking situation. You don't always want to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
That's boring.
Yeah.
You want to talk about other people. You want to make connections. Isn't that the coolest thing? That one friend that would love another friend, and you bring those two things together. So it's exactly like that. It's just normal human interaction.
Absolutely. And you don't have to fake it. I know we've talked about death by small talk at the farmer's market and how that can get really mundane, and obviously more, some people are built for that and some people aren't. But it doesn't have to be fake.
Yeah.
Like, isn't the weather great, forced kind of conversation. You can find something nice to say to somebody that's genuine.
That's why we're working at markets, right? Because we like people. Otherwise,
Exactly.
we'd be putting our products in boxes and sending them off to some big chain grocery store, wouldn't we?
Absolutely. And we've had those conversations with some of our vendors that are so crabby and complaining about their sales. And I've had to say, look, you either are going to stay at the market and feel good about interacting with people and be genuine about it and make these connections happen, or perhaps you get a staffer that can do that, or take your product to wholesale.
Yeah, maybe this isn't the life for you.
Yeah, it's fine. Everyone's
that's
personality
okay.
is different. Yeah, there's people who work in the basement of buildings in labs by themselves. Like, that's fine.
And they're happy.
And they're happy.
You should be
they
where
love
you're
it.
happy.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So that human thing, looking outside yourself, making sure that you're not having so much fun with the people you already know that you're not paying attention to the people that you don't know. I mean, that's just nice.
Yeah.
Basic appearance stuff.
Yep.
Both you and the booth. I mean, that's a big deal. Like, our staff has T-shirts, and we have a selection. You know, they don't look like robots. You can choose from 3 or 4 different shirts that we've developed over the years, but they all say Market Staff, and they all have a logo on them, and they're hopefully all clean, and you didn't sleep with your shirt under your pillow, and all that.
Yeah.
So uniforms aren't essential, but they're helpful. Something
Yeah.
that identifies you and your business in one glance is good.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen other vendors at the market that do cool things with their outfits?
Yeah, they coordinate colors at least, or wearing aprons, you know, for because they're farmers and it's a farmery type of style. Or I don't know. I don't know. If I've seen like actual uniforms, because I think people at farmers markets say it's kind of the anti-corporate.
Right,
so we're
right.
trying to be not so uniform and clean cut, but they tie themselves together somehow. Like our French crepe, one of our French crepe booths, they have like little French bandanas in their hair. The girls do. And so it's like they can wear their clean t-shirt when they're working in the booth, but then they're all coordinated with their bandanas. Or things like that, where it's just bring your booth together, and so you look professional, because that's what we are.
We've got a food booth at one of the markets where they all wear Hawaiian shirts.
Yeah,
They're all
yeah.
the same, but they're all Hawaiian. They're cheerful. They look good.
Absolutely, I love that, yeah.
We actually have a booth at the market where they all wear market shirts, because once a year we do a vendor party and we do shirts that have clever food puns and things, and everybody in the booth always wears one of the t-shirts that we've given them.
Yeah.
But at least that's all kind of cohesive, so that's fun.
Yeah, I love that. And then I say, oh yeah, wear that to the other markets too.
Yeah. Yep.
And we'll get people that are farmers that are at our markets that do other markets in California, and they all wear like Hollywood like the Hollywood Farmers Market has a cute shirt.
They do have a
It's
cute shirt.
Hollywood spelled out in produce.
Yeah.
So that's cute. So some of the farmers kind of wear that to our market too, and it's like, that's great. You know, just tie everything together.
Absolutely.
You're a
It's fun.
California farmer, yeah.
Using aprons. We see some farmers that use aprons that have their farm logo on them or a market logo on them.
Yep. Matching hats. I mean, so many opportunities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Standing up. Making
Yes.
sure you're making eye contact with people at the same level that they are as they walk by. You know, when we do an equipment list to give to people in Vendor 101, how we don't even put chairs on that list, because
Don't even
if
bring
you're
it.
sitting down and they're walking, you know, you don't have that opportunity to make eye contact and say hello and have them know where it's coming from.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think we've had a couple issues that we've worked on with people who have come to us and said, can you help with our booth sales? And I'll say, you know, I've seen you in your booth. You're sitting in a chair in the back of your booth, not even facing the front of your booth, reading a book.
Yeah.
So your customers probably feel like, just like they feel like they would be interrupting a conversation, they're interrupting you reading or interrupting you looking on your phone.
Yeah.
Things like that. People don't want to interrupt. So
The
make yourself
phone thing's
available.
gotten so tricky, because it is important that you're Instagramming from the market, or you're updating your social media, you're tweeting, what have you. But you've got to stay really hyper aware that you're not spending too much time doing that while you're in the booth, while people are just walking by and assuming that you're texting your friend and not that you're updating your product list on Instagram.
Yeah, a good tip is to pre-schedule some posts before the market day. And then, of course, you want to post things that are happening that day. Take a picture of your booth that day, or your neighbor, or the weather that day, and post those things throughout the market. But you don't have to worry about just basic posts that you can pre-schedule ahead of time.
Right.
So that's a great
Smart.
tip to do. That's what we try to do at the market managers as well. We pre-schedule things, and then we'll do Instagram stories while we're there, and some things that are more like, this is what's happening right now. But we can get that basic information, make sure that gets posted in case we're really busy in the
Right.
booth, which we usually are if we're paying attention.
Absolutely. Yeah, if we're paying attention to customers.
Yeah.
So that's really important. How your booth looks itself. So we'll have a whole nother episode, I'm sure, on display techniques. And there's a lot that goes on at the Farmers Market Conference on how you display your items, the high-low, how you make it look abundant and appealing to buy. But that basic booth appearance, even not counting a lot about your product, Do you have half-eaten lunch sitting there? I know we're stuck in our booths all day and we end up eating lunch, grabbing a quick lunch and eating in the booth. You need to have a spot behind your front table where you stash all that stuff. And nobody wants to look at the half-eaten food while they're also looking at your product or even your information about your market or leftover water bottles. Do you want to have all that clutter on there? You want to paint a picture on that front table of what you're about, what your booth is about, not that it's your junk drawer.
Yeah, exactly. Your break room.
That's not what you want to see there.
Yeah.
Not appealing.
Yeah.
Was it Allie Ball at the conference this year earlier that said you want to be sure that you step outside your booth, stand at the front of your booth and look in and see what customers are looking at? And she even said, in terms of your display and what you're selling, to look at it as though you were an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old and see, could that really young, inexperienced person determine what it is you're selling and what it costs.
Yep, exactly. Is it complicated? Is your signage complicated? Do you not have enough signage? Is it not clear what you're selling and what the price is? Is there not enough information about your business there? Is your display full and it looks like you obviously have something great to sell? Or is it really minimal and people aren't sure if you're selling a subscription to something or you have one jar to sell for the whole day? Make it really clear for that 8-year-old. Customer.
What's available and make sure it's priced.
Yeah.
The clutter thing is huge. I think you've got to really maybe set a little schedule throughout the day. I think Sarah Marshall talked about that at the conference.
Yeah.
Having a schedule to give yourself breaks and to refresh a little bit and be sure you're checking off, like those signs in bathrooms, in restaurants where the staff has to come by and they sign that they've cleaned up.
Yeah.
Maybe you need something like that if you're going to have a really busy booth. Maybe you need a little checklist that you check every now and then and make sure, are the water bottles off the table? Is there trash on the table? Is the display full? Have I refilled the flyers if you're at an information booth? Have I refilled the strawberries if you're at a farm booth?
Exactly. Yeah. And just don't have that big party going on in your booth with extra guests and extra people in your booth. So don't make it confusing for the customer who works there and who doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
We see people have their friends come visit and they'll stand in the booth. I mean, the very worst is when your friend comes visits with the cute puppy and they're in your food booth and you've got a dog. No dogs. But yeah, that's all just really critical to making sure that people feel welcome there.
Yeah, and make sure you can shop. I think Allie Ball, again, has discussed this at the conference and when she was on our podcast with us as well, making sure that pretend as though you have a shopping bag in your hand, a cup of coffee in your other hand, but you also want to buy that basket of strawberries on your booth. So walk up to your booth. Is there a place where your customers can set their coffee down very quickly so they can shop? Do you offer them a bag with handles, or take a look at what they have? Oh, this will fit in your shopping bag that you have here. Or say, the information booth sells really great reusable shopping bags.
Right.
I'm going to hand you, a couple different bags of things. You should buy a bag there, and then you can carry it all at once. Make it really easy for them to shop there.
Exactly.
Shopping at farmers markets, you're not pushing a shopping cart around. So acknowledge that. It's not a secret. Acknowledge it with your customer and say, yeah, I can see that you probably need a big bag to carry this. Or, hey, why don't you set your coffee right here so you can use both of your hands and pick up my product, because that's what I want you to do, because that's how you're going to purchase it.
Yeah, I loved that tip about negative space, because I'm always juggling a bunch of stuff and don't have anywhere to set it down. So leaving that little empty spot on your table where I could have set down my coffee cup to touch the tomatoes and see how ripe they are, definitely would mean more sales for me.
Absolutely. And I shop with a beverage in my hand all the time. And so I feel comfortable at our market saying, hey, let me set my coffee cup behind your table real quick so I can pick up your product. But then it always reminds me, hey, just so you know, I'm comfortable asking you if I can set my stuff behind your table because I know you. But if someone else comes up here and has a cup, there's nowhere for them to set it down.
Yeah, the average shopper isn't going to feel like they can intrude on your sales space. So
exactly.
Make it easy. Leave some gaps in between your
just scoot your
beautifully
stuff over.
Piled up products and produce.
Yes, and then keep it clear, because people might set their trash there and leave it there. You know how people at farmers markets are.
That's true. Yeah. What's one last tip? Oh, you know what's cool? Name tags.
Oh, please.
I love name tags. People are all about the relationships at farmers markets.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the market staff should have name tags, for sure.
Yeah.
We have really cute, clever name tags. We've actually, at our vendor party, given out name tags to the farmers and vendors because they don't necessarily listen when we say you should have name tags for your staff. People love to know your name. You know what would be the coolest thing ever? Is if you could get the customers' name tags. Wouldn't that
would be
great?
So fun. We should do that.
So you can talk to people by name.
At one of our smaller weekly markets one day, this was years ago, I brought a bunch of blank name tag stickers and went around and had all the farmers and vendors write their own name on their sticker and wear it all day. Because I wasn't sure of everyone's name at the market, which as a market manager, you should know, but it's a lot of names to remember.
Sometimes it's, hey, tomato guy.
Yeah, hey, you. But then I swear, and I should go back and find these reviews. We get Google business reviews or Facebook reviews on the market, a few after every market. People said, right after that, they said, I love going to this market. Matt at Smith Farms is the greatest. He always says hi to my kids. And Audrey always has a taste of a peach for them. And the Google reviews, the customers started using the vendors' names.
That's awesome.
And it was really, I think it helps that connection. I'm a person that wishes that everybody in the world just walked around with a name tag on there because I'd love to say, hey, Kat, hey, Adam. Just call people by their names. I feel like it deepens that personal connection, and we could all use that more. Maybe we'd look up from our phone and talk to each other if we all had name tags, right? So I think that's a great idea at the market.
Yeah, absolutely. Get all your staff name tags.
I'm going to work on that. I'll post some pictures on our Intense Farmers Market business.
Should we put a big stack of name tags at the info booth and see if the customers want to wear them?
That would be so fun.
Wouldn't that be funny?
Let's do it. I'll do it. Our regular customers that are there every week.
It'd be nice to know their names.
I don't know all of their names.
I know.
I wish I did. So, yeah, that's a great idea. So, any listeners, let us know if your vendors and farmers wear name tags, or if you've ever done a shopper name tag project. I'd love to see that.
Yeah,
let's talk about that. That's fun. All right, cool. Well, I think those are some great tips.
I think so too. Yeah. It's those little things that make such a big difference to your sales that you don't even think about. Your sales and actually, just your enjoyment of being at the market all day. Yeah. Cleaning up that clutter. I mean, do you really want to work in a really cluttery kitchen? No. Do you want to work in a cluttery info booth? No. You want to clean that up and just keep your environment pleasant.
Have a more enjoyable time at the market.
That's right. Got to be there. May as well have fun.
Exactly. All right, well, thanks so much for listening along to this episode of Tent Talk, the Farmers Market Podcast. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you are listening to this podcast. If you're listening on our website, there's also a comment section there, so you can leave us a review or any kind of input or questions through our website. Send us an email. And be sure to subscribe to our next podcast. That helps us, and it'll also help you so you don't miss the next episode. And if you want more farmers market tips, tricks, and information, you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter at intensebusiness.com and follow us on Instagram at intensebusiness. Remember, that's INTENTS business. We are so very excited to announce that super early bird tickets for Intense, the Farmers Market Conference 2020, happening February 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, in San Diego, California, are on sale right now. They went on sale last week. So go to thefarmersmarketconference.com and get yours today. We love all the emails, interacting on social media, seeing you one-on-one at your markets and ours, but nothing beats getting in a big group of us all together in one space for a few precious days. We know your time is very valuable, but we love discussing and resolving issues, learning new techniques from each other, hearing each other's very interesting stories, and of course, enjoying the beautiful February weather in San Diego, California. So please, I hope you will join us there. Go online now and get your tickets. This podcast is produced by Intense Business, where passion meets profit. Today's episode was recorded by Adam Samaha and edited by our own Justine Marzoni Mead. Original music by David Mead. Thanks for listening.